Welcome back to a new video here at Life with the Bridges. When you share your life online, it's easy for people to see the highlights, the smiles, the moments that look perfect, without really knowing what's happening behind the scenes. But if you've been following our journey for a while, you'll already know a little bit of what Katie and I have been through as individuals, as parents, and as a couple, navigating life before, during, and after our little boy's battle with cancer. Over time, we've done our best to handle each stage of that journey, always with our son at the centre of everything. But looking back, we realised how much we've been holding in. Life has been loud, full of schedules, responsibilities, and moments where we barely had time to feel. And somewhere in all of that, we've stopped taking care of us. So we packed a bag, left the noise behind us, and came here to breathe again, to slow down, to talk, and maybe even remember who we were when it was just the two of us. This weekend isn't about escaping life. It's about finding our way back. We've always promised to be transparent, to share the good, the bad, and the messy. But life isn't always easy, and we believe it's important to normalize that. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to talk about it. And our goal has never been to seek sympathy, but to remind everyone watching that you're not alone. Everyone faces hard seasons, but it's the courage to face them and to keep showing up that creates a life that you can truly be grateful for. So join us as we stay true to where we are right now, working through the bumps, healing from the past, and taking our first steps towards togetherness rather than two individuals. And that time for change is now. With over 300 miles driven from normality, we arrived 6.5 hours later in the Cumbria region in this slice of outstanding beauty. A 36-acre private estate which has undergone a multi-million-pound restoration project in recent years to become the luxury self-catering accommodation it is today, which has a variety of incredible types of accommodation across the land in which you can stay in, which allows you to immerse yourself in the peacefulness of true countryside, which is exactly what we both needed. And no, before you think it, we weren't staying in this ginormous mansion, we were staying in their beautifully renovated clock tower for the next 2 nights, which we'll get to. But ladies and gentlemen, this is known as Netherby Hall.
Flippin' hell, look at this.
We checked in at reception and were shown to our accommodation by the lovely grounds manager, and after that approach to what looked like something that a king would live in, to say we felt slightly out of our depths would be an understatement. But we finally arrived at the clock tower, where we would be staying for 2 nights, which used to look like this, but now looks like this, with bathtubs overlooking the restored stable block to marshmallow beds, a lovely open plan living dining area, and a kitchen which is perfect for me to rustle up a storm later. This was absolutely incredible, but after speaking to the grounds manager for a while and the evening setting in, we decided to get Willow out for a quick walk to stretch her legs after the long journey, ready to explore the grounds fully in the morning. After filling up a basket of complimentary logs, I lit the fire, firstly because I'm a part-time pyromaniac, secondly for ambiance, and thirdly because it was bloody freezing, which brought us nicely onto trying their complimentary chocolates and dog treats. Obviously the Queen came first, and then Kate and I tucked into a treat, as let's be honest, we deserved it after that long drive. With the little chocolate treat as our mini starter, that got our tummies rumbling for some dinner, so into the kitchen I went. And on tonight's menu that was going to tickle our taste buds was fillet steak, asparagus, and macaroni cheese. Delicious. With a little preheat in the oven, a searing off in the pan, dinner for night 1 was officially served, and then Katie and I sat in front of the fire. No phones, no TV, just 2 people with a lot to talk about. And this is one of the many things in which we don't prioritise enough. Just giving each other their time and attention to simply ask the question, how are you? But with a lot spoken about, our first day drew to a close, and before you knew it, another day had started. And due to my body clock waking me up early, and Katie wanting a well-needed child-free lay-in, I went to go and have a walk around the grounds to see what it had to offer. Over the 34 years I've had on this earth, I've always found that taking a stroll and getting some fresh air is an amazing way to not only find clarity on situations, but also it allows the noise of life to drift away and simply be at one with your own thoughts. And what a perfect place to do it, as this place was right up my street.
This place is incredible.
This was a homegrown wonderland, from huge expansive veggie gardens to greenhouses growing everything from seed.
Wow.
And everything they grow on this land is maintained by 4 full-time gardeners which nurture each and every crop to supply their own Michelin star restaurant, which is only 15 minutes drive away from this private estate. And this wasn't just your average garden, like mine, where you just throw some seeds in soil and hope that they grow. This was producing foods I hadn't even heard of, from seeds to trees, fruits to veg, and even plants and flowers in which they hand-pick to present in all of their luxury accommodations. I mean, look at this place, from chilies to mustard frills. What the hell's a mustard frill? This place was far from normal, and to put it into context, I counted over 6 different types of bloody carrot.
I mean, look at carrots like that. They're not normal.
They even had some carrots that literally looked like they dropped out the bottom of my dog, and other carrots that looked like bananas.
Is it really necessary to have that many types of carrot? This is a bunny rabbit's playground.
With a trusty owl to deter the birds, from apple archways to beehives, it really did have it all. Even new areas of the land that was being landscaped with fresh manure as we speak.
They use their own poo, produced by their own horses, to produce their own 3-star Michelin food. Incredible.
It's fair to say, this place blew my little mind. But with my veggie-filled morning of fresh air complete, I made tracks back to the clock tower to rustle up some breakfast, as Sleeping Beauty was now awake.
With the ground tour done, time to go and visit Carlisle and see what that has to offer.
We got into the city, parked up, and went for a stroll around to temporarily exchange our countryside accommodation for something a bit different, which Katie and I aren't really a fan of cities, but we had come up this far, so we thought we would give it a go whilst we were here, which to be completely honest was fairly short-lived, and with a quick look over the city castle, our feet and hearts were itching to get back to the tranquility and calmness of the countryside, so we retreated back to the luxury of the private estate. But because for the first time in as long as we can remember, we had that luxury of time, we thought it was a good opportunity for Katie to fill you in on some unanswered questions that you'd all been asking, whilst I had the rare luxury of having a bath. So over to you, Kate.
Hi guys, so I thought I would sit down and have a little chat with you because, well, quite frankly, I don't get to do this very often and see you very much and share some of my sort of thoughts and feelings about things. I know that Scott talks to you guys a lot and updates you regularly with what's going on and things like that. So one thing that we did want to do is just answer a few questions that seem to be sort of a repeat questions that we get quite a lot. Stuff that might not necessarily be clear in videos around sort of where we're at, where Teddy's at and things like that. Yeah, hopefully that sort of answers your questions. So first one, and quite a common one, is does Teddy go to school? Will he ever go to school? At the moment he doesn't, and that is purely just because of his adrenal insufficiency and the risk to him if he were to get chickenpox, things like that. And he can go to school with his adrenal insufficiency, that's not a problem. But for us and all of the medical sort of trauma he's been through, because we don't need to send him to school at the moment, we can cover the childcare. It's just not a priority for us. He gets socialisation in various other ways, so we're not worried about that at all. In terms of the future, we are quite sure, for now anyway, that we would like to home educate Teddy, and there's various reasons for that. So one of the reasons, we just want him to be free-spirited and we want to travel and we want to show him the world and teach him the things that we want to teach him. I don't necessarily like the school system here in the UK. I think it's very dated, it's very restrictive around, you know, when you can and can't take your children away and things like that. So I think we want to live a bit more freely, to be honest. There's quite a big home educated support system here, which is great. So there's quite a lot of families that are sort of home educating. You can legally home educate in the UK. You just have to provide a report to the local authority annually on sort of what your child's education has been like, and they just have to see that you're definitely providing literacy and numeracy. So there's no sort of curriculum that you have to follow, but you do have to be showing that they're learning literacy and numeracy. So yeah, I think to home educate Teddy would be really special, and I think it could be a little bit child-led. We can lean on his interests and yeah, see how we go really. I mean, he's still young. He doesn't technically legally have to be in education or in school until the term after he turns 5. So actually that wouldn't be till September 2027. He wouldn't legally have to be in education. So we've got a long time yet. Our lives might change, our plans might change, and Teddy might turn around and say that he really, really wants to go to school. So we certainly wouldn't hold him back if it's something that he wanted to try. So yeah, for now, plan is to home educate. However, plans change, things change, Teddy's opinion might change. Yeah. How are we doing? So this is a question that we get quite a lot. Everything's about Teddy, how he's doing, but people tend to ask how we're doing, Scott and I. So I think okay. There is, and you know, full transparency here. We want to keep this channel as real as possible. I think there are things that we need to work on and work through. I think there's not a lot of time in our lives to sort of dedicate to each other and our relationship, and that's okay because that's just the time of life that we're in at the moment. I think we're both working a lot and juggling childcare, and I think it's taken a huge settling period since Teddy came home from hospital. It's been, you know, where are we now? It's been 2 years since we've been home with him. And I think there's quite a lot of trauma that we're both carrying. We both deal with that very differently. And yeah, I just think we haven't had the time to really nurture ourselves as individuals, but also us as a relationship. So actually this weekend away is just so long overdue. We love to take Teddy on all of our adventures. That's something that we're quite passionate about. You know, he's part of us, and why should he miss out on those experiences? But yeah, just every now and then you just need to switch off mum, dad mode and switch back on to just focusing on us. So yeah, could be better, but not falling apart completely, which is, I think that's pretty good going really. But thank you for those of you that do ask after us. Lots of work to do, but we will get there. Did our relationship nearly crumble during treatment? That is something that comes up a lot, and you know, something people always say is if you could get through that, you'll get through anything. Our relationship was non-existent during Teddy's treatment, to be quite frank, because we were essentially living separate lives. We came together in the daytime to do all of the medical stuff, and then by the evening one of us is in the hospital with Teddy and one of us is going back to the temporary accommodation. So there wasn't really any relationship, and it wasn't even in the forefront of our minds. We did have a few nights off from hospital, which was fantastic. We had grandparents come up and Nanny looked after Teddy, so we did have to get a few date nights out of that period of time, but ultimately it's just not the priority. Everything was consumed by, we have to get this boy through his treatment, we have to be as strong as we can, and we have to get him home. We have to win this fight. So yeah, I think the challenges, I would say, come after, because it doesn't stop when the bell rings. You're home and suddenly you're full-time medical parents, and you're juggling the day-to-day care, you're juggling the fear of relapse and watching every sort of sign and symptom of Teddy potentially becoming poorly, and then you've got your guard starting to come back down a little bit because you're home and you're in a comfortable place, and the trauma, I think, starts to unravel at that point. So hence, we've got work to do now. But no, our relationship did not nearly crumble during treatment, and that is solely for the fact that it was the last thing on our minds. Another popular question, will we have another baby? So I think that Teddy would be the most incredible big brother. He adores playing with his babies. He adores real life babies. He's just so kind and so caring. I think he would be the most nurturing big brother ever. I think he potentially would get a little bit jealous. He's very attached and clingy to me at the moment. He's definitely a mummy's boy for now, so that could be an issue too. But ultimately, the bottom line is no. We are one and done. Teddy is everything that we could have wished for and more. We kind of made that decision when I was pregnant. We never had a massive desire to have a huge family. We were quite confident in our thought process that we want to be able to give one child everything that we can and still go off on our travels and still lead a very similar life to that we did prior to Teddy coming along. So we always thought that one would be the perfect number for us. With Willow, of course, a little family of 4. So the answer is no, we won't be having another baby. As much as I'd love to see Teddy as a big brother, he is going to have our full attention forever. Okay, why are you looking at a property in Portugal? So, something that we spoke about, Scott and I, long before we even knew we were going to have a baby, was that we wanted life to be a bit different. We didn't want to live a conventional 9-to-5 corporate job. The only time you'd spend out of the country is when you get your 1 or 2 holidays a year and you only get your 6 weeks annual leave. We always knew we wanted to do something different, and we said at the time, lots of people talk about doing something big and something different, never quite brave enough to take that step, and that it usually takes for something bad to happen to give you a shake up and think, we really need to do this now. We really need to sort of think big and be brave and actually take that leap. But yeah, Portugal for me, I think it's got that beautiful weather. I know in the winter obviously can be quite the opposite and quite torrential, but it's got that beautiful hot summers. And I think it's, for me, the landscape and things like that is a lot more beautiful. We're quite outdoorsy people. Scott likes all the mountains, but I think the draw to Portugal was mainly around sort of the landscape and things like that. The Portuguese people are extremely welcoming and friendly. Property prices are great. We actually want to have a property that's got around 4 or 5 acres at least, so that we can do great things with it. So I think Portugal is definitely would help us to get there. We've followed a lot of families that have chased after their Portuguese dreams, and it's, you know, it just solidifies that even more. Our recent trip was fantastic and the north of Portugal was stunning. But watch this space because we are heading to more central in a couple of weeks' time, so we will do another few videos. A response to our Portugal videos was, what about Willow? Let me just set the record straight here. Willow is, always will be part of our family. A dog is not just for Christmas, a dog is for life, and we would take Willow wherever we went. She would be a significant factor in our decision making, and she certainly wouldn't be left behind or palmed off anywhere else. She is part of our family and we wouldn't have it any other way. She probably just will need to adapt to the climate, so that's fine. We'll just make sure she's got all of the right tools to help her when it certainly gets hotter. So yeah, Willow will not be left behind. I feel like I've rambled a little bit, so I am sorry. I have answered a few questions. I'm sure there's more. More than happy to answer anything that you want to hear from us, or if there's anything that you'd like to see in terms of videos for now, then please just pop some suggestions in the comments below. And yeah, any more questions, just drop them in there too, and we'll do another one of these soon. Thanks very much.
As another night drew to a close, another day dawned, and by the looks of this furry beast on the sofa, with her legs in the air, this slower paced sort of trip was doing everyone some good, and something we could all get used to. But with me up at the crack of dawn again, it was time to start my day and make the most of this time of reflection with some good old caffeine. With my caffeine fix sorted, I went for one last leg stretch with Willow to take in this incredible place, whilst Katie packed up her last few things as we were unfortunately leaving, but it wasn't home time yet, as we were heading an hour and a half south towards home to stop off in the Yorkshire Dales for a night. We said goodbye to the posh life and re-entered a life in which we were more used to, a lovely waterfall walk in the countryside.
So we are here in the Yorkshire Dales and we have come on a waterfall trail which cost us £22. I'm not sure I've ever paid that much for a dog walk, but we wanted to see the outstanding nature, and so best this waterfall walk be good. For 22 quid, I should bloody hope so. Let's go have a look.
And good was exactly what it was. Actually, it was great. And as was this weekend, it was exactly what Katie and I needed in the most simplest of forms. And that form was time. Time to be with each other. Time to be honest. And time to listen to one another without distractions of life getting in the way. And something we've come to realise is marriage isn't always easy. It's made of seasons, some light and some heavy, and some that test everything you thought you knew about marriage. There are days that you laugh together until it hurts, and there are days where silence simply fills the room. Days you feel so close that you could take on the world, and others where you wonder how to bridge the distance between you. There are moments where love and marriage feels effortless, and others where it feels like too much work to meet in the middle. Times you hold each other through tears, and times where you want to walk away as it feels like it's the best option. But that's the truth about marriage. It's not about perfection or pretending everything's fine. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, choosing to stay curious about each other, choosing to listen, even when you disagree, choosing to fight for one another, not with one another. Because real marriage isn't built on easy moments. In fact, it's built on quiet apologies, long hugs that speak louder than words, and the small gestures that say, I'm still here. It's built in moments when pride takes the back seat and grace steps forward. Marriage grows in moments of doubt as it deepens in the space between hurt and healing. It strengthens when you choose each other again and again, even when the world feels heavy. Marriage takes work, real, honest, humbling work, and Katie and I, with our journey we've been through, we've been put to work. But when you both lean in, even just a little, something beautiful happens. You remember why you started, you see how far you've come, and you realise that marriage was never meant to be perfect. It was simply just meant to be real. The hard days don't define us, but in fact the way you come back together does. Because in the end, marriage isn't about falling apart. It's about always finding your way back. And when you do, and you look across to that person, and you know, despite all and everything you've been through, you still choose them, that is when you understand what forever really means. And that is the reason why we have chosen to be honest with ourselves and you as our community, as struggling is okay. It takes hard work and time, and we all need to remember that. And one of our mantras through our whole journey with our son, whilst he battled against cancer, is never lose hope. And that mantra doesn't change in marriage, as positive change is easily created if you truly both want it enough. And it's as simple as that. And this isn't me saying that after one weekend, all our problems are cured and resolved, and now we're a perfect couple, that you see a lot of across these social media platforms, but in fact quite the opposite. We still have a lot of work to do. We still have trauma to unravel, but all that matters is that we are both willing to fight for us like we did with our son. And ladies and gentlemen, that's enough. As the future's going to be bright for us, and we're going to take you all along for the journey with us. We finally finished our 7.5 kilometre waterfall trail and drove to our overnight stay in a small Yorkshire village pub where we shared a nice dinner with each other in front of the fire and then had an early night ready to do the 6.5 hour drive back to Bridge HQ tomorrow to be reunited with our cub, with our hearts and minds feeling a lot clearer. And that is a perfect time to end that video there. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. A huge thank you to all of our new Patreon members who have joined. And if you want to join, scan the QR code on the screen now. And remember, live for today, as tomorrow is never promised. We'll catch you on the next one, chaps.